Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today a reading update, channel news, the books I'm reading. I have a lot of books beside me and I'm going to talk about them a bit, and also what I'm gaming at the moment, and also some channel news if you have the patience to stay until the end. So the first book here is James S.A. Corey. It's Leviathan Wakes, and this is an Amazon TV show. I've seen season one, and I got after that curious on the book, and then I got to know that the book and the show actually will become a video game released by that will be released by Owlcat, I think in 2026. So instead of hunting the lore afterwards and the original sources, why not read everything and watch everything before the game comes, and then see how it plays out. And like with Witcher, I'm following The Witcher, reading books and playing the video game, and also playing some board games as well. So this is an attempt to do this. I think it's interesting. I think this book is promising. I've read 150 pages. Um, it's a story on the one hand of a spaceship team that makes discoveries, strange discoveries in space. And it's also, on the other hand, about a detective, Miller, and he's more like a detective in a detective noir, and he investigates strange things that happen on with let's say elite people in this society. There's a lot of politics, and there's a lot of crime mystery, crime drama, and it's sci-fi on the light side. I enjoy it so far, and it's something you can really read as a palate cleanser if you're interested in that after I have read maybe a big series that takes a lot of energy and time. This is easy, a light read, I would say. If you read it, I'm curious to hear about your views on the book, of course. Um, so that's one book. Another book I'm reading right now is this one, as you know, the Book of the New Sun. I'm at the second book, Claw of the Conciliator. Enjoy it a lot. This is one of the books that I focus a lot on to finish. I will have a talk with a contemplative reader, Jay, later this month. I also will have a talk later with Sam Wise about the book. Actually, it's Sam who really, I think, encouraged me to read this book together with the contemplative reader Jay as well. Like it a lot. I think there's a lot of things that opens up in the second book so far. 100 pages in the second book, and a lot of understanding that I get that changes my perception of what I read in book one. So far, I think this holds up to standards of Malasan in terms of writing, layeredness, and symbolism, spiritualism, and so on. So I think this is really rewarding, and you will likely see me having this book in a hardcover very soon, I think. A book that is a bit on hold at the moment, but I never stop reading it, is the Malasan Book of the Fallen. It's Bone Hunters. I'm doing this reread. It takes time, of course, to do that. And I haven't read God is Not Willing, for example, yet. I got No Life Forsaken home to my house last week. So, but my intention is to reread the 10 books again before I get into God is Not Willing by Stephen Erickson, and I will also parallelly read the Ian C. Esselmount's novels of the Malasan Empire, which is an ongoing project for me, and this is Orb Scepter Throne, a bit on pause at the moment, but I will continue to read them hopefully during Christmas when I have more time as well. Another book that is of my main focus is The Witcher, Time of Contempt. I have not much left in this book, about 150 pages. I enjoy this a lot. I think, the Expanse book that I showed initially. I think this one is on the lighter side. It depends on what you compare with. There is a lot of lore, there's a lot of politics in this book, but if you compare it to Malas Book of the Fallen, for example, it's light on the light side. Maybe it's unfair to call it that, but relatively speaking, I think this is also a kind of palate cleanser. It's also a lot of focus on entertainment, I would say. Some philosophy, but maybe not so much. But you can, of course, read in that to your interpretation if you want to. I have more books here, and I have the Kingdoms of Death by Rukkyo Sun Eater series. I'm reading this one very slow. Usually I think maybe it's, strange to call his books cozy in a way, but there's something with the sci-fi that feels familiar and something that feels nice to read, maybe late evening. So when I have in the mood, I read a chapter. The chapters are short as well. I enjoy to read this slow, and Christopher Rukkyo is good to summarize what has happened before, so you don't really feel that you forget things, I would say, in the book. This is the fourth book, and actually the last book has been released just recently, Shadows Upon Time. That's book 7. So, and there is these parallels between Rukkyo and Gene Wolfe, but Rukkyo is also compared with the Dune, Frank Herbert, the Dune books, and difficult to say, but Hadrian as well as Severian and the Book of the New Sun are both unreliable narrators. Let's see where it goes. I would say still that Kingdoms of Death and Sun Eater is still, in comparison to Gene Wolfe, of course, a lot of more entertainment focus, and it's easy to see that the Sun Eater series one day will become some kind of action sci-fi movie. I would not be surprised if that would happen. Another book I'm slowly getting into is The Tower of Fools. I've showed you that book before, by Andrzej Sapkowski, the Witcher author, about the Hussite Wars, about the rebellion between Protestant rebellion against the Pope. Real history, but the story is made up, and the main character, Rainovan, he's a doctor, a magician, and maybe a charlatan. That's the focus for this story so far, and he is quite ruthless, maybe not so polite main character that fits well into the universe of Andrzej Sapkowski. So this one I'm curious on. I will continue to read that, and I know that it seems to be very good. I bought the 2 other books as well, so I can read the whole series as well. The last book I will show you, which I'm only exploring. That's something I do when I read. I only explore the book. I don't really get into the book unless I feel like this is something I really like. So this is a kind of exploration, I would say. So this is the Eisenhorn, the omnibus. Dan Abnett. This is actually a Warhammer book, and it's about a inquisitor, Gregor Eisenhorn. He is a rogue trader. I played the video game Rogue Trader 40K and got curious on Warhammer. So I'm not into Warhammer, with the miniatures and painting and the games, skirmish games. But I really enjoy the game, and I got curious on the Rogue Trader, kind of explorer, like when the Spanish explored the world, according to them at least. You are kind of that explorer type, you could say, and you travel in space to gather resources and to unravel mysteries. and to fight the Empire, which is evil, but you decide for yourself in the game I speak of. So I got curious on the Rogue Trader. I also bought the board game behind me. Just a Warhammer Black Black Fortress, I think it's called, and then this book. So I like to compare because I've read a lot of fantasy like Rocchio and Gene Wolfe, and now this, for example, and they are very, very different. I'm not sure if sci-fi is always sci-fi or if fantasy is always fantasy. It's interesting to see. So I'm reading a variety of books and swapping them out according to my mood. And some are pure fantasy, really connected to mythology, like Erickson, for example. And then I have this Witcher, which is connected to folklore, folk tale, I would say. And then we have Gene Wolfe, very typical, sci-fi, but with deep philosophical depth. It's difficult to really understand if it's sci-fi or fantasy. It's maybe more philosophy, I would say, so far. And then Expanse, which is maybe almost only entertainment. I would say similarly with Rocchio, even though Hadrian has a lot of philosophical musings and so on. It's deeper, I would say, than the Expanse or Leviathan Wakes, but still it's not as heavy. So you could say all the books I've shown you here has different level of weight when it comes to if they are entertaining, if there are, you could say, intellectual depth, you could speak, if they reward you spiritually, and so on. So I try to broaden my reading and also broaden my understanding when I can read what literature, and it becomes tough if you only read heavy literature, for example. So then you get tired. So it's nice to change a bit according to what you have in life with family and work, for example. And Ian Cecilmont is maybe also the Malasan author, maybe more on the light side, but still compared to a lot of fantasy, I would say it's rather heavy, depending on how you read Cecilmont. But then you, of course, can read literature just as you would like to. I had a great chat with David from Four Corners of the Page. We talked about if fantasy can be life-changing and so on, if it's a deeper message in fantasy. We had different perspectives, but it was very nourishing to have the discussion. And one thing we talked a lot about is it's a time investment if you want the book to mean something more than just what it says on the pages. And it's maybe a question of timing in your life, where you are, if you can read meaning into the book or not. So I think that goes with all of these books. All these books can change you or affect you in a positive way, but it's a matter of what yourself are investing into the books yourself, and what experiences you bring into the book as well. Yeah, that was what I'm reading. I'm also playing a lot right now. I just wanted to tease you a bit. I'm playing the Elder Scrolls board game, Betrayal of the Second Era. I'm a Khajiit, and I'm actually an orc. I'm traveling around in the Black Marsh in the Oblivion universe. Have problems. I have missed one thing I had to do in the quest, to go to a town called Stonewist, and I didn't do that, so I didn't pick up my companions for the final quest. Now I'm in a dungeon under a city, and I am in a tough situation. I have, I think, 7 enemies against me. I'm supposed to free a prisoner, but I have only 3 in my team. So let's see how it goes. As I promised a lot of times, I will try to do a video on the Elder Scrolls, hopefully later this weekend maybe. You choose your character, the ones I've showed you. You choose a class. There's a ranger. You have different abilities that you can use. You can choose different skill lines. Here is a bow, for example, that has different effects. You have dice which you use that looks like this. like this, yes. And use them to attack. It's very RPG-ish. You have a special map that you use where you can build your character, and you're totally free to build a character as you would like to. And then you play a game is, I think, approximately, if you play with friends, I think I would say 8 or 9 hours. If you play yourself, maybe you can decrease that to 6 hours. Playing on 2 different maps, for one map for one session and then a second map for the next, and then you have a final clash with the Slandra, which is the evil person in this game. There's a book that you use for the adventures that is very good. It's a adventure book for every region, like Cyrodiil, and you have the Black Marsh, for example. And I spent a lot of time with this, and it's interesting, I think, when you create the story not through a book but through the actions you take. There is a main quest that you follow. For example, free a prisoner, which I'm doing right now. Probably I will fail, but you create a story. You go to different towns. You make different decisions. You make peaceful encounters, you make clash encounters, you make choices in Black Marsh. The weather is tricky, so the weather changes every day. So if you sum all this up, it will become an adventure that you actually can write down and create a story from. So that is a different way to create story and to have storytelling. And you have your characters. Since I have an orc in my company or in my team, I think that's something that I was a bit skeptical to, because I've grown up with Lord of the Rings and the orcs are always evil. Then I have an orc in my team. In modern fantasy, so to speak, orcs are not always evil. And I think maybe the Jahag in the Malazan Book of the Fallen are a bit orcish, not in the way they behave, so to speak. You can't compare it either because they are layered in Malazan Book of the Fallen, but maybe how they look, I'm not sure. I don't know how you depict a Jahag in Malazan Book of the Fallen. So that was a short rant about what I'm doing. Will also have guests on the channel. As I said, a contemplative reader will come to the channel to talk about the Book of the New Sun. I will try to attract Samwise to the channel as well to talk about the book, maybe both same time, we'll see. Maybe separately, as it seems now. And this week I also will have a Swedish indie author, but in totally different genre. It's the feel-good genre, but with folk tales. His name is Victoria Lawson, and she has written a book called Where the Lynx Appear. The lynx is the animal here in the north that is mythologized a lot. So I thought that was interesting to interview her about the book, but also about how she wrote her book and how she published her book, since I know many of you who are here are writing yourself. So I think that's all I have for now, and this was just a short channel news saying hi to you. I hope you are well. Please tell me what you are reading. I would be interested to hear that, what you're playing or gaming, for example. Please tell me that as well. So until next time, which is very soon, have a nice day. Bye.